So, welcome to the interview by Next Big Brand. We are delighted to have Mr. Abel Joseph, the founder of Isle Dating app, with us. So, thank you very much for taking out time and addressing the audience of Next Big Brand.
Thanks a lot for having us. Thanks, Smriti.
It's great. So, my first question to you is that you started off as a closed group, as a membership only group, and to now, how has the journey been?
Uh, it's been an evolution. Like you said, we started off as a singles club. That was the focus to build an audience and a community which could kind of come together at any given point in time in a common place and kind of be friends with each other. And we thought if you could build that, then I think eventually some of them would find partners in another. And that's how it all started in 2014. And then I think mid 2015 is when the revolution sort of took off. I think Flipkart, Myntra, pretty much all of the e-commerce guys were kind of building like very user friendly apps, and so did Ola. And we thought it was important for us to kind of have apps as well, and so we introduced the apps. And I think towards 2016, because of the way that we function, a lot of the users had to apply for membership, and we would actually like give them a call on the phone and talk to them for 5 minutes before we take a decision to admit the user or not. And I think that that kind of failed at scale, because every time we kind of reached out to 10 people, we would think about not admitting maybe three or four. And that kind of led to a lot of negative reviews on the Play Store and the App Store. And the result of the consequences of that was that the cost per install was kind of shooting up towards 2017. Because people would obviously find the apps and they would see these reviews, and then probably we didn't really have a lot of credibility. It was not a big brand, and well, we're still trying to build a big brand, but back then it was almost unheard of. And I think towards the middle of 2018, we said we'd become just another dating app, much like most of the others that have done well. And yeah, that's when we opened it up. And fast forward to 2020, I think that decision was important at that point in time. And I think now we use algorithms to kind of figure out what are the sort of features. Well, not even the features, but also the kind of members that we can suggest to our members. So yeah, that's been the evolution.
So, how did the idea come to you? And the name, it's quite unique. And I've often, like, when I told people I'm going to be interviewing you, everyone told me, get the pronunciation right. I said, yeah, I will Google it. So, how did the name and the idea come to you?
The idea, I think, is was in the making for many years. So back in the days, I used to work in the music business, and I think a lot of the engagement was in nightclubs and closed events. And what's unique about that business is that you always have a bouncer at outside your gate, trying to keep a check on who's getting in and who's not, just so that the people who are attending the show or the party, they have a good time. And also they kind of try to maintain a fair balance between men and women. And I think Isle was kind of inspired from that. We thought, how about having a bouncer who kind of checks every single person who's vetted and then kind of onboarded to become a member. So yeah, that's probably where the idea comes from. And I think the name, we kind of wanted something which was symbolic, uh, and I also wanted something which was web friendly. I was a big fan of Apple back then, and I was like, is there a name that we can think of which starts with A, but also kind of resonates with the space that we're in. And walking down the aisle was kind of that
Yeah.
end goal that we wanted to sort of aim for. And that's the reason why it was Isle. But yeah, I think half the country can't really pronounce it. And so yeah, it's always been a discussion within the team as well. Do we kind of think about changing it, or do we keep it this way and then let it grow on everyone? We've thought about names like Nestle,
Mm.
which can't really be pronounced as Nestle, but
Yeah.
then even my mother can pronounce it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that takes a little bit of conditioning, a
Mm.
little bit of marketing, but we thought we'll eventually get there.
Yes. And I'm sure you're almost getting there. A lot of people know
Yeah.
about it. So, how you've seen the dating world from 2014 to now. How do you think this industry has evolved?
I think it's evolved differently in different parts of the world. I
Okay.
think in the West, you see a lot more innovation, and I think it's the innovation is what we would call multi-directional. So there is innovation for a particular community. So, for instance, in the Middle East, you have an app called Musmatch, which is mostly for Muslims.
Okay.
There are other innovations like this is other app that I came across. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I think it's Smore or Smore, and that is when two people can't really know who they're talking to, but as they're chatting the photos would get unblurred, and then eventually the reveal is made. And I was a big fan of this app called How About We, and that was a very conversational kind of an app, and very offline focused. I think that was acquired by Match and it's no longer around. But in the West, it's a mature market, and I think there's a lot of experimentation that happens, and the ecosystem sort of supports that. Right? The venture capitalists like creative teams, and they would kind of back them and see where that goes. I think in India it's still early days. We are still what we could potentially call a unidirectional kind of innovative space. Every app has a like and a pass, and I think the reason is that that's what people are used to, and that there's a cost to getting people and users to get accustomed to a certain user experience. It could be time or it could be money. And in the case of the startups in India, I think because we lack both, we're competing with Western players and some even from China, and then you also lack capital because the space in itself has not really seen a lot of innovation, and you don't really have a lot of VCs focusing on creativity of the teams. It's more about the quality of or the pedigree of the colleges that you come out of, and it's a hard thing to bet on, right? At the end of the day, you have a leaky bucket, because it's one of those spaces where you acquire users and one day they're going to exit and move on. Yeah, so I think, yeah, it's evolved differently, but I think going forward we'll have a lot more innovation in the dating space, not just in the West, but also in India. And I think the pandemic was kind of that leveler. Yeah.
I was just coming to the pandemic, it changed the rules of the game for every business. So, how did IEL react to the COVID situation? And I know a lot of my friends in that time were the loneliest, especially those who were not living with their family. And I saw a lot of them going towards dating apps. So, how was it for IEL during the COVID phase, which is still on, but yeah.
Sure. So it was hard. The first couple of months were really hard, and that's mostly because we had plans for 2020, and our plans were very offline. So towards the end of 2019, we introduced something called IEL IRL, which is IEL in real life, and we gathered some of our select members to meet in an offline setting, which was curated by us. And we wanted to see what happens there, and those events were slowly starting to pick momentum. So that was one property that we started innovating and investing towards. The second property was what we named Jalebi, and Jalebi was an offline meetup app where you could just randomly have lunch or dinner with somebody who's interested to just meet you. So the way that it used to work is you can quickly go up on Jalebi, and the access to Jalebi was only if you had a work email ID, right? So you would enter your work email ID, you would sign up, and then you can just put up a plan saying, hey, does anybody want to have lunch with me at 2 p.m. at this restaurant? And these restaurants were curated by us, and anybody can kind of request that meetup, and you're free to choose who you want to meet with. And Jalebi was slowly picking up in Bangalore. We only released it in Bangalore, and we were having about 3 to 4 meetups in a day. We didn't really promote it, and we wanted to kind of make sure that this is working before we started to promote it. And then came the pandemic, right? So there were two hot properties that we were working on, and then offline was just not going anywhere. And then we kind of had to like rework our strategy. That was around the same time that there was this app that was called House
Yes.
Party, and that was kind of taking off. And I think what was unique about House Party is that you could quickly jump onto the app and have a spontaneous conversation with
Mm.
one of somebody from your contact list.
Yeah.
And I think that was what was missing during the pandemic, the spontaneous interactions. And we thought that what better way to kind of do this, but create a version of House Party within Isle.
Mm.
And then there was a lot of validation because that was around the time that Clubhouse was gaining momentum
Mm.
in the Valley. And so we looked at both these apps and we looked at our ambitions to take interactions online, offline faster. And then we came out with a feature called Rooms.
Mm.
And I think the way that Rooms works is a user can create a room
Yeah.
and any member on Isle can enter it as a guest and have a 5 minute conversation with you. And at the end of the 5 minute conversation, the host can choose to match with you or not.
Mm.
And anybody in the community can listen to this conversation. They can enter the room and listen to it. So it's broadcasted to everyone and it's audio only. And so we thought, it would kind of enhance decency and the community would be self-policed. And that's pretty much how we got through the lockdown. And so
That's
that feature really took off. I think we were clocking about 10,000 minutes of streaming in a day, and we had only rolled it out to a small, beta group. And yeah, so I think that gave us a lot of users as well as usage time.
mm.
And what I think what users were sort of looking for on dating apps was to kind of take away the boredom from the monotony of
Yes.
the lockdown. And then towards the second half of the lockdown, I think the boredom sort of changed into loneliness.
Mm.
And then I think everybody sort of started looking for who could I potentially be in love with everybody that I connected with.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how the lockdown went about, and I think things are slowly getting back to normal.
Yes, they are. And I hope the Jalebi app is on soon with the coming to Delhi also, because I know a lot of people who would be interested in that. So that feature would be interesting to have in Delhi. So,
Sure.
if today one wants to go on a date, a user is confused by choices. We have Tinder, we have Bumper, we have Truly Madly, and plenty of others. So, what would you tell your user, a first time user, why should the user come on Isle and what should be a first time user's expectations?
Right. So I think the difference is that Isle helps you know who you are going on a date with before you get there. So I think when it comes to the apps which can be considered to be casual,
Mm.
you only have a name and a face, and you don't really go about and ask, hey, where do you work? What do you believe in, and all of that. And I think if the conversation starts as that, then you take the fun out of it.
Mm.
But when you're looking at a profile and you have this information upfront about somebody's faith, their diet, their whatever it might be, the political beliefs, etc., I think you kind of you're self-aware, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why you're looking for a partner independently.
Mm.
And then you can sort of evaluate if this is the sort of person that I need to meet for a date. And I think that's what Isle helps you with compared to the casual apps. And then I think the user experience on Isle, it's bringing a lot more seriousness, right? So what I mean by that is when it comes to the scarcity of the digital goods. So for instance, if it's likes, some of the apps probably have about 50 or 100 or even 200 likes that are absolutely free.
Mm.
And then the question is, who did the users who did get that like, did they really get it because this user was actually intending to get to know that person, or was it just thrown about because it was free?
Yeah.
So on Isle, there's a lot of scarcity, and the digital goods are really there to kind of hold you back and think before you act. right? So when it comes to the user interface on some of the swiping apps, you're not really thinking who you're kind of swiping left or right. And if it was the case, then you wouldn't have a feature where you monetize these rewinds, right? Like, so you kind of, well, they go about it so fast that there's a feature which kind of helps you rewind and go back to the previous user. And I think that's the difference between most of the apps which are high intent dating apps like ourselves, and some of the apps that I think you mentioned. So yeah, that's where Isle sort of stands out. And of course, it was designed only for Indians, so those sensitivities are sort of taken into consideration. There are things that are important for us. So, for instance, mother tongue. I think we're a country
Yeah.
that speaks many languages, so that's kind of important to us. On the other hand, when you look at high intent dating apps in China or in America or in the West for that matter, for them ethnicity is sort of something that stands out, right? So that's kind of a field that they have. And I think eventually, the world get a lot more closer, and society would seem, and the traditions would probably get a lot more uniform and whatnot. But for now, I think Indians sort of hold those traditions important. You kind of subconsciously think or know that you need to kind of take somebody back to the family and get their approval as well. And so that's what I'll helps you with, a
Yes.
lot of information upfront, which is not really available on some of the other apps. And I think that there are apps, I think, in the list that you mentioned where, I think each team would go about building it differently. So, for instance, there are certain unsaid things by the user that needs to be understood by the developers, by the app developers. So, for instance, I think it's just common sense that we know that people expect authentic profiles on the app.
Yes.
Now, some teams might go about it and say that, hey, we need to have Aadhaar verification on it. And we believe that that's uncool for us to kind
Yeah.
of keep on an app. And so I think those are the differences. These are, when you look at Facebook and Twitter, the only difference you probably might have is that one, you can only write like 140 characters, and the other, you can probably just write a book on it.
Yeah.
But these little differences matter, and I think anybody who's creative will be able to kind of, be a good judge of that.
These differences matter a lot because one of my friends went on a date with a guy, and the next day she said, I can't meet him because I can't talk to him in Hindi. And if I can't talk to him in Hindi, I can't be with him. So I'm
Right.
sure these differences make a lot of
Yeah, and
difference.
I think that's a very important point, right? So I think women are very picky. Like, I think they really understand what they want,
Mm.
and you have to go shopping with a woman to really know like what it's like. And so, but we as India, and we as a society, like, we don't criticize a lot, and so we're not really good at articulating what we don't want, or that and there's something about it which is kind of unsaid, but you kind of have to really read between the lines and evaluate the expressions and whatnot, and try and understand what is it that they like or don't like about the product. So yeah.
Interesting. So a lot of hard work goes in there. My next question is that, everyone in today's world is scared of data. Like from my 60 plus mother to my 16-year-old niece, everyone is moving from WhatsApp to Telegram. So how secure is a user's data on IRE?
Right. So that's an interesting phenomenon. And I think, we do see a lot of people moving from WhatsApp to Telegram, or maybe even Signal when Elon tweets about it. And then 2 days after, you're back on WhatsApp or wherever the masses are. So I don't know how knowledgeable these decisions are to kind of experience something new, but I think it's more about, is grass greener on the other side, and kind of thinking about it. But of course, we have very savvy, intelligent users who understand the value of privacy, who understand the value of keeping the data secure, and we need more of them. Right now, I think it's just it's still a very niche sort of a moment. There's only like a handful of users, apart from outside of the tech industry, who really kind of understands this. And then the question is, where should the focus be, right? Like, So for instance, if a food delivery app is kind of getting hacked, or these are two different scenarios.
So, yeah, my question was that in 2014 or 15, you said dating is still very misunderstood in India. Do you think the dating audience right now have evolved and they understand the dating world, or in 2021 it is still misunderstood?
It's a different kind of misunderstanding. And now I think it's not just India, but the entire planet that is misunderstood dating. So I think I'm a little old school when it comes to this. So I feel if you're dating for the purpose of, not falling in love, then let's not call it dating. Let's call it
Yeah,
something else.
yeah,
And I think we did start calling it something else, and that's hookups and
yeah.
some of the other things. But then we still sort of classify certain apps as casual dating apps.
Hmm.
So we've not let go of the term. We kind of take advantage of the term, but what actually the result of it is not really, in my opinion, in the historic way of looking at the term dating. I think when you go back to the history of dating, it's a very new phenomenon. I think it's only in the 20th century that we even have we actually had for the very first time unsupervised meetings between boys and girls and men and women,
Yes.
and then that sort of progress from there to gentlemen. Today some of the haircuts are also kind of named after the people from back then.
Yes.
So the gentlemen used to follow a certain protocol to meet women, and that was absolutely fine for that society. So it's a very Western phenomenon again, but that protocol was accepted by all, right? By the men, by the women who were getting approached, and there was a lot of decency in it.
Hmm.
And because of that, I think even parents are fine with it. So that kind of evolved. Obviously we now have online dating, and online dating also, especially in companies like Match.com, they've really invested into this, and they made something out of it. So we're talking about an industry that predates Google.
Hmm.
And fast forward to today, we have users using dating apps, but without the intent of anything. I mean, like, a dating app is almost like a social app today,
Yes.
which is absolutely fine. But I think we need to kind of make that distinction. And what we did was to make that distinction. We started calling ourselves a high intent dating app. And yeah, that's the best that we can do.
Hmm.
But of course, culture is going to be set by artists, Netflix, and all of that, and then we kind of play along with that.
True, true, true. So my last question to you is, what does the future hold for IEL? What can we expect from IEL in the future?
Yeah, I think for us, it's a lot of personalization. I think that's going to be our next step. I think in the coming weeks, you'll probably hear about some of the things that we will be doing in terms of personalizing for particular set of people in India.
Mm-hmm.
I think, as so we kind of we so uniquely diverse that if we're just going to be building like one experience for everyone, I think it'll kind of there will be an imbalance, I think. So for instance, like I said, I'll the brand name, it's probably only going to be pronounceable by the English speaking Indian, right? But what about the rest of the 90% of India? And so, of course, it had to start here because this is where the online dating etiquette was already present. This was the community that was willing to pay to meet people online, and
Yes.
this was the community where women had the freedom to meet people independently. But going forward, I think we'd have to, build for Bharat as well.
Yeah.
So you're going to see a lot of personalization from us. And the second thing that we kind of, we toyed with that idea a lot, and then we want to kind of polish it is spontaneous interactions.
Mm.
And yeah, so we think that a lot of dating apps are going to kind of look at what we did, and of course have inspiration from other up and coming trends like Clubhouse, etc., and see what they can do with it. It's an already existing trend in China,
Mm.
and so these are the two things that I think we'll be working towards.
Great. So we look forward to seeing those two things. And thank you very much for your time and have a happy weekend. Thank you.
Likewise, thank you, Smriti.
Mm.